Hey everyone, it's Joe from Gadgetry Tech, finally back with another video. My whole family got sick, so the last week has been a huge mix of working my day job, taking care of the family, our new puppy, which has been awesome, and trying to play with stuff. I haven't been able to record because I've just been so exhausted by the end of the day, but I have been playing with a lot of things. So with that being said, I have a lot of exciting stuff coming very quickly. I've been kind of taking notes and getting ready to really start filming a lot, which leads me to this. This is the WIMAXIT, not really sure the best way to pronounce this, but this is a 14-inch portable monitor from said company. They did send this to me for review about a month and a half ago, so big thanks to them. Won't affect what I say about it, but I always want to be honest. I will say the things I like and dislike because I think every product has pros and cons. But it retails for $200. It's a 1920 by 1080 screen, so it's HD, 60 hertz. And portable screen, obviously this isn't the cheapest screen, period. There's some really inexpensive monitors that will work better than this. The benefit, or why you consider screens like this, are if you want true portability, which means it can be powered and have a video signal, all done by the same USB-C cable in this case. So in this review, I'm going to connect this to the MacBook. I've tried this on Windows, I've tried this on Mac, and I've gamed on it, and I will show you a couple of those examples during this part of the video, so I'll have chapters. But I want to start with a few basic specs in addition to what I just said. It only weighs 1.3 pounds. It's 0.3 inches thick, so it's very thin and lightweight. Has an aluminum chassis, which is really nice. And I mean, it feels nice. It's got kind of like a sharper edge. It's beveled, but it's not like a rounded screen. So I think they did that for more of the modern aesthetic. No gloss finish, even though this is a touch screen. It is matte, which some people like or dislike, but I think in a portable environment with mixed lighting, this may come in handy. So I do want to show you a couple things. So one of the things that stood out, and by the way, it has a kickstand. That's what's going to keep it upright, as you can see there on the video. The kickstand has rubber feet. So there's a piece of rubber on the bottom of the screen. I'm going to put that in the view there. So that front is always resting on the ground. Now on the arm, like the leg that tilts out, you can see a rubber foot on the top and bottom. It works pretty well in this, setup. When you have it down like this, it still touches, but now I'm at the point where on a more extreme angle, the rubber feet don't touch the desk. So as I see a little line in the wood because of it, thank God that didn't scratch. So that is why I wanted to bring that up. I don't like that there's a hard plastic or metal edge, like a fairly sharp metal edge. So depending on your surface, it can do some damage. I wish the rubber wrapped around. That's one of the few nitpicks I had that stood out right away. There's no case or anything in the box, so if you are traveling with this, just keep that in mind. You want to put it in a, some kind of protective case to keep it from getting cracked or scratched up, depending on what you're traveling with. But as far as what comes in the box, so you get the USB-C cable, which is a decent length. This is normal for a portable monitor. You get a mini to full-size HDMI cable, and then you get a USB-C to A cable along with a power adapter, a little screen cloth, and a little manual. So what's cool, the reason why these cables are convenient is on the MacBook, I can just plug in my USB-C cable and be good to go. So let's plug this in. I want to show you how the on-screen menu looks because there's a couple controls, and I'll show you these real quick. The controls and buttons are covered when the kickstand is down, so you won't see the ports or anything. I don't know if that's by design to protect them during travel. If you want to lay the monitor flat, just flip the kickstand all the way up. But on this side, you can see the two USB-C ports and the two HDMI port, or the one HDMI port, sorry. Now that HDMI port, the two USB-C ports, they are full function USB-C. So power, video and audio, because this does have built-in speakers, and the touch interface can all work through that single cable. So you don't need any extra wires there. And on this side, you have the buttons for control. Basically, it's a headphone jack. You have a little wheel that you can kind of wiggle up and down or press in. And then you have kind of like an exit or back button. So let's go straight into the navigation. I want to show you what it looks like to set up and adjust. So to pull up the on-screen menu, all you have to do is press in on the wheel on the left-hand side here. I'm going to go through a couple things. Basically, if I push in on the wheel and go down to game mode on the bottom there, you can see performance mode. That's the default I use for this review, but I can cycle through. Standard gets noticeably darker. RTS, FPS is the brightest. And then performance is just slightly darker, but very similar. Let's go back here. And OSD setting, this is where I want the on-screen display, how long the menu sticks there if I'm not doing anything. Temperature, I found that the color temperature of 6500 was actually really good. That's how it came out of the box, and it worked well for me. Under option, you see volume, aspect ratio. All this stuff you kind of want to leave the same, unless you're adjusting volume, of course. So this section is interesting. Ultra HDR mode, I am not a fan, and I'll show you why. It darkens the picture like crazy. Way strong on the contrast. It's like an artificial contrast boost. So I would not recommend leaving that on. Now you can just set it to off so it never turns on, but I just wanted to point that out. Eye protection is a subtle shift with yellow. It actually is an extreme, so if I enable it, basically it's cutting back the blue tint just slightly to help reduce eye strain. Unless you need this for color grading or accuracy, I would actually prefer to leave that on in most cases. You can see the timeout is pretty aggressive here. So let's go back into the menu. And now I have to go back to it. So I'll leave eye protection off for now, just so it's the natural color state for my video demo that I'm going to do here in a moment. 3D sound doesn't have the best sound built in, so I recommend using your laptop speakers like I said. But if you want to mess with the virtual sound, you could certainly do that. Let's go back. And I'm doing this without really editing anything because I want you to see how the UI or interface works. Maybe you'll increase the timeout setting. Crosshair is kind of funny because it actually puts a green crosshair in the center of the screen. So if I enable that, then go back, now there's a green crosshair. So any game you play will always have that. Kind of a funny thing. I haven't really seen that on a little, budget portable monitor before, but it's there. So I'm going to turn that back off naturally. And let's go, I think that covers all of the submenus, and then reset. And then there's information to see, USB-C connection, 1080p, etc. So that covers the on-screen display. Now I do want to show you while I'm at this angle, the viewing angles. So if I tilt the screen slowly to the left, you can see a little bit of drop in the color saturation and overall contrast, but not bad. So I'm going to tilt it upward, so as if you're below the screen. And this is pretty normal for most monitors in this price range. A lot of monitors don't have the widest viewing angle, especially on this technology. So not great, not terrible, but what I want to do now is show you how the video quality looks when I'm playing the same video on a MacBook Pro. This is the M1 Max MacBook Pro. It's not the latest generation now apparently, but they're known to have excellent screens. So I wanted to compare it to something like that. So with that being said, let's load up the video. All right, so now I'm playing the same video file on the WIMAXIT 14-inch and the MacBook Pro. These are two separate video files on YouTube, like two separate players. I tried hitting play pause at the same time. Reason why I'm not mirroring the screen is I wanted to show you the MacBook Pro at its maximum quality. It's at about 90% brightness, let's say 85% brightness. Basically, there's 2 bars shy of max. And this is in the default performance mode. And this is running full resolution. I'm not scaling it down to 1080p to kind of cheat the presentation. But you can see that this screen, even though it's a budget screen, actually works surprisingly well. Color saturation is good, contrast isn't bad. And originally I was excited to review this because I use a portable screen when I'm doing video editing because I want all my overflow stuff on the secondary screen, whether it's Discord, measurements for headphones, all of the folders where I'm dragging and dropping content to, and then I use the Mac for the actual color grading and production work. So surprisingly, this actually has a really nice screen to it. It was much better than I expected, and literally all by this single USB cord. So pretty cool stuff. Now the touchscreen works out of the box to an extent, but the functionality is super limited. You do have to download a special driver to make it work. And it's pretty intuitive from there. Otherwise, it doesn't really quite work correctly, even though it's registering as a touch device. It kind of shows up to the Mac almost like a giant mouse pad, which really isn't what you want this to be used for. You can do pinch to zoom. It does do multi-touch, which is kind of cool, scrolling and all that. So it's a nice convenient feature. It's not a game changer, but it worked pretty well once I went through the whole driver install process, which was a bit cumbersome. You have to request a link just to download the software. Thankfully, I got it within about 5 or 10 minutes of filling out the form. Now, for any reason, if you're using this for commercial, it says that there's a pretty massive cost. It's $150 for the license with 3 months of activation, and then every year is $15. 3 years is $30, and 5 years is $45. So if you are using this for commercial, your cost effectively doubles, just because the touch interface and licensing. Obviously, you use it how you want, report it, register it however you want. But I just want to mention that software licensing, if you see a cost, that's more for commercial. For personal use, I was able to install the driver and use it just fine. Now I wanted to show you an Xbox game demo as well, just to show input lag if there is any. And this does work on PlayStation, PC, Xbox, etc. with the HDMI. That little control wheel on the left, if you flick it down for a second, let go, it actually pulls up the on-screen menu for volume. If you press and hold down for like 2 seconds, let's say, I'll wait for this to go away, it'll actually switch to the brightness adjustment. So I'm just waiting for that to disappear. Now I'm going to hold it, and now I'm on my brightness setting. So I'm going to go all the way up. Let's set it to 50% here, so I'm not messing with the default. And I do want to say this. So what's weird is Xbox, both times I've done like a power cycle just to be sure. It does show a resolution of 720p by default, but you can enable 1080p. You'll see the screen flicker. We'll keep the resolution, and we're good to go. I'm going to make sure my volume is all the way down here because I don't want to hear the feedback from the game twice. That's low enough. So I'm just going to do a quick multiplayer thing on Call of Duty. And you can see, like I said, the picture quality is actually pretty nice for gaming. It pops really well. So let's let the game load. We'll get in super fast, right? All right, so I just dropped a quick match of Warzone. I just wanted to show you the input lag. And if you flick the stick back and forth, you can see the input lag is pretty minimal. It's not like a level of like an OLED that's running at only a few milliseconds of total latency. It's noticeably a few seconds past. I'd say closer to 10 to 12. I can't measure it, to be honest, but it doesn't feel as fast as my OLED. However, it feels significantly faster than my TV does in game mode. So I can still easily play on this. And surprisingly enough, there's very little motion blur as well. You can see the picture quality is actually quite good. So you could use this as a portable. Let's watch this guy. Look at it. Didn't even have to loot. Dropped him with a pistol. So you can aim on this. It actually isn't that bad. Anyway, that's it for gaming. I think what's really cool with this is you could actually use this on an Xbox Series S, which is a fairly portable console. So it's almost like a portable gaming rig. Both these cables are plugged into the back of the Xbox. I'm not using the included power adapter. The Xbox has enough power to turn on the screen. So it's pretty easy to set up. You don't have to travel it much, and it's a pretty fun experience. So that about wraps up the review. Hopefully you found something helpful about this if you're ever considering a portable screen or just wanting to learn more about the tech. The coolest thing is when you can have a single cable that just does everything. And for my use case, basically doing content work on the go for when I travel to cover something like Can Jam at a headphone show, having a monitor that's reliable, that has good enough picture quality for all my overflow and extra tasks, that's where this monitor comes in handy. Funny enough, it was actually pretty fun to play games on it. It kept up fine. Is it as good as a real gaming monitor? No. But when you look at some inexpensive portable monitors or inexpensive monitors in general, a lot of the time you're not going to get a great gaming experience. They're outclassed by much more expensive things, naturally. So I had pretty low expectations of gaming, and surprisingly, it was actually pretty good. I wouldn't, if someone said this is my gaming setup, you can play on it, I'm not going to complain. It still did a fun enough job. And for all the other stuff, as you saw in the demo, the quality is actually good for picture too. I do like the form factor. I wish it came with a case or a sleeve or something because it is portable, but there's nothing to protect it when you're on the go. That's the one biggest need I think it had. I didn't really use the touchscreen too often. As you saw, it worked fine, but I'm typically not a touchscreen person with a computer. So at least it works. Design's pretty good. It's up to you if you think it's worth the price range or not, but I hope you found it helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And with that being said, I'll see you next time.